critical care, also some in wards, some are in home isolation, some are in home quarantine, and some are in institutional quarantine. In this situation, there is so much dilemma, so much depression, so much invention, so much thing. So, my dear Corona fighters, respected audience, surveyor personnel, welcome this session. Today, surveyor arranged a meeting. Topic is position of ACE inhibitor and ARB in hypertension management during COVID-19 pandemic. I am Dr. Mohammad Jamaluddin, consultant medicine, Noakhali General Hospital, trying to be with you for some times and inshallah enjoy a good time with you. I actually before January we don't know that the corona will be a pandemic disease. When it was first appeared in Wuhan, it was not expected to be pandemic, you know. But on January 30, WHO declared COVID-19 as a pandemic disease. After that, it is increasing day by day. From the first time, R0 was thought about 2.4 to 2.5. Some thought that it was even 4. So the case is increasing day by day. Today, I am presenting a data of yesterday of total outbreak in the world. Confirmed case was more than 4.5 million, and death was more than 3 lakhs. A recovered case was 1.87 lakhs. As Bangladesh is a densely populated countries, people are actually not showing any respect to our laws and law enforcing authorities, and they are not conscious. So our case is also increasing day by day. This is the data of yesterday of IDCR. Total COVID-19 test was done 1.8 lakh, more than 1.8 lakh. There was positive case more than 23,000, and recovered case was 4,585, and death was 349. But yesterday it was alarming that there is so many cases in last 24 hours, 602. Among them, death was 21. It's very much alarming, and as because we are doing test, increasing the test number of tests. So yesterday the test was 9,788. So in Bangladesh, we are facing a mitigation up to 30 May. Bangladesh government declared it, but we are not actually showing respect. So it is increasing, you see. So in this perspective, we are discussing about the association of comorbidities with COVID-19 outcomes. And thank you, Surveyor, for this organizing these presentations. You know, WHO statement shows that 8 out of 10 COVID-19 patients have underlying comorbidities like cardiovascular disease, hypertension, diabetes, chronic heart disease, COPD, chronic kidney disease, obesity, etc. Among them, you are seeing that there is hypertension, cardiovascular disease is most prevalent in the more than 65 years of age. But in young people, it is actually different. There is obesity, CLD also. So patients having hypertension, diabetes, and CV disease are at high risk during this COVID-19 pandemic. And there is a recent analysis. It's shown that 49.7% of patients who had to be hospitalized are hypertensive. That means plus almost 50% is hypertensive, and 28% has cardiovascular disease. More than 28% is diabetic. This is a data where hypertension, cardiovascular disease is most prevalent in the hospitalized patient among COVID patients. And from the very beginning, we are discussing about one thing. There is a inhibitor ARB in COVID-19 infections, that is renin-angiotensin system blockers. And from the very beginning, we are thinking about, is there any bad role or good role of ACE inhibitor or ARB in COVID-19 patients? As because of the homeostasis system of RAS shows that there is dilemma in positive thing and negative thing. As because Bangladeshi patient 5.4 million people are taking hypertensive, and there is more than 3 million people are taking RAS inhibitor, so we are concerned about that. So we are discussing about the bad role or good role of renin-angiotensin system in COVID patients. And this is the homeostasis of angiotensin system. You know that angiotensinogen is converted to angiotensin 1 by renin, then angiotensin 2 in lungs by ACE inhibitor 1. And that acts on angiotensin receptor, which causes vasoconstriction, inflammation, fibrosis, proliferation, and ultimately hypertension, cardiac fibrosis, thrombosis, ARDs, etc. In the other hand, there is ACE2, angiotensin converting enzyme 2, which is another part of the coin, another page of the coin, which actually try to decrease the bad effect of the system, that is homeostasis maintaining by this. It converts angiotensin onto 7, and which is a actually peptides biologically inactive easily, and which causes vasodilatation, anti-apoptotic effects, anti-fibrosis, and anti-proliferation. And as a result, on the other hand, there was hypertension. There was hypertension, decreased hypertension, decreased cardiac fibrosis, and thrombosis ARDs also decreased by this system. So there is a homeostasis between ACE1 and ACE2. But as we know, ACE2 actually by this coronavirus SARS-CoV-2 entry point in our body is ACE2. So this is our actually thinking, is there any role about COVID-19 infection and angiotensin converting enzyme on ARB in our bodies? When AC inhibitor is used, that is, or ARB is used, it actually inhibit the AC1, which ultimately decreases the angiotensin 2 and decreases hypertension, cardiac fibrosis. On the other hand, this AC inhibitor increases the ACE2. In animal studies, mice studies have shown that expression of ACE2 is more in the treated with AC inhibitor or ARB. So when we are using AC inhibitor or ARB, that is ACE2, there is also more effects of ACE2, that is decreased hypertension, decreased fibrosis, or thrombosis, or ARDS. But when COVID infection is there and AC inhibitor is using, what happens? You see that when AC inhibitor, AC2 is trying to carry the COVID-19, that is SARS-CoV-2 virus in our body. In the other hand, this AC2 also increases the angiotensin 2. So as a result, what happens? There is increased hypertension, increased cardiac fibrosis, increased ARDS. It is a bad thing. It is, we are worried about it. But again, AC2 again is entering in our body by the AC2. So we are thinking that whether this AC inhibitor ARB is deleterious to our body or good to our body. This is our concern from the very beginning. So as there is concern about these RAS emitters, so there are so many studies about this, their bad effects or good effects. This is study 1 from American Heart Association. It's a good study from Heart Association. This study is association of inpatient use of angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitors and angiotensin 2 inhibitors among patients with hypertension hospitalized COVID-19. This is a retrospective multi-center study, and there was patient was 1128. There are adults, the median age was 64, and the type of patients was hypertension diagnosed with COVID-19. It was done in 9 hospitals in Hubei province, China. Follow-up time was 28 days. Medication was AC inhibitor ARB or 188 people and 940 people without non-AC or ARB. Here death rate was in AC inhibitor, it was 3.7% among COVID-19 patients, and non-AC or ARB was 9.8%. You see that p-value is 0.01. It's a very significant p-value, and they're trying to conclude that compared to AC inhibitor or ARB group, the group had higher prevalence of, and other than AC inhibitor ARB, had higher prevalence of fever, dyspnea, and bilateral lung lesion presentation. And use of AC inhibitor ARB was associated with lower risk of septic shock. Here, hazard ratio was 0.36. And in this multi-center retrospective study, in hospital use of AC inhibitor ARB was associated with lower risk of all-cause mortality due to COVID-19 compared with other non-use of ACE inhibitor ARB or use of a different class of antihepatitis agent among patients with hypertension. And there is another study, association of renin-angiotensin system inhibitors with severity or risk of death in patients with hypertension of coronavirus disease COVID-19 in hospital patients. That was in China. It is a retrospective single-centered study. There was patient was 1178 and hypertensive patient was 362. That means 30.7%. And their median age was 55.5 years. Place was Central Hospital, Wuhan, China, and here follow-up time is extended 60 days, and 115 patients are taking ACE inhibitor or ARB. In this study, the JAMA cardiology guideline, they define the patients of COVID-19 patients as severe illness or non-severe illness. Severe illness was defined as blood oxygen saturation levels of 93% or less, respiratory frequency 30 per minute or greater, and PaO2 by FiO2 was less than 300. Lung infiltrates more than 50% within 24 to 48 hours. There was septic shock, respiratory failure, and or multi-organ dysfunction or failure. And non-severe illness was defined as the absence of the previously described characteristics. Hypertension was defined as a history of diastolic blood pressure 90 millimeter or more, systolic blood pressure 140 millimeter or more, or history of antihypertensive medication use. They used that use of ACE inhibitor in severe illness 9.2%, use of ARB 24.9%. They show that a decreased expression of ACE2 can induce pulmonary edema and reduce lung function. Therefore, increased expression of ACE2 appears to be protective against acute lung injury. So it's a good sign. There is so many data in JAMA cardiology study on ACE2, ARB, and head-to-head trials. And there is also non-ACE or non-ARB. So conclusion was that these studies suggest that ACE inhibitor or ARB are not associated with the severity or mortality of COVID-19 patients. There is another study which shows that which title is treatment with ACE inhibitors is associated with less severe disease with SARS-CoV-19 infection in a multi-site UK acute hospital trials. There are patient was 53 out of 200 patients. This is the primary endpoint. Their median was 62. Place was King's Hospital, UK. Follow-up here is 7 days only. Comorbidities 51.2% with hypertension, 30.2% diabetes, and 14.6% ISD or heart failure. Her primary endpoint was days of transfer to critical care support within 7 days of symptoms onset. Their patients died or recovered critical illness. You see that ACE inhibitor group was 14%, and without ACE inhibitor exposure was 29%. It's a large difference between AC group and non-AC group. Had a 14% and a 29% that recovered critical care or died. So this study suggests that ACE inhibitors do not increase the severity of COVID-19 disease as a hypothesis, but may reduce severity. Last but not the least, there is also meta-analysis, the BMG. It's a good thing. The BMG may put on end to the debate and may also justify the protective role of using ACE inhibitors to reduce the risk of pneumonia, inshallah. This meta-analysis of BMG, risk of pneumonia associated with the use of angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitors and angiotensin receptor blockers. That is systemic review and meta-analysis. Study selection done by randomized control trials and cohort and case control trials. Total study considered 37. Treatment arms could compare ACE inhibitor ARB with each other or with placebo or any other active drug. That means in this study or meta-analysis, there is also ACE inhibitor one arm, ACE inhibitor ARB, ACE inhibitor others, ACE inhibitor or placebo. That means 3 groups. And one thing I want to share with you that this study actually not with COVID-19, but other groups of coronavirus infections, SARS, MERS, and other pneumonia. Her treatment was given in hospitals. Primary endpoint was incidence of pneumonia. This is case of pneumonia, lower respiratory tract, and admissions to hospital due to lower respiratory infection. And secondary endpoint was pneumonia-related mortality. I have so many data you see, and the odds ratio of pneumonia ACE inhibitor versus control ARB versus control, AC versus control, 3 arms. And there is the odds ratio, good odds ratio 0.66, 0.95, and also confidence interval 0.55 to 0.8 in AC inhibitor versus control. There is pneumonia patients chronic kidney disease. Here also AC versus control is odds ratio 0.15. So here AC inhibitors reduce the risk of pneumonia. You see that AC inhibitor versus control, there is 34% reduction rate, and AC inhibitor versus ARB, 31% reduction rate. So conclusion is the risk of pneumonia was not, however, different between patients who did or did not use ARB. But there is good rules of AC inhibitors. The conclusion is the best evidence available point towards a curative protective role of AC inhibitors, but not ARBs in risk of pneumonia. AC inhibitors are also associated with a decrease in pneumonia-related mortality. Here, one thing that in this slide, you see that in stroke patient, AC inhibitor group 54% reduction, heart failure 37% reduction. In Asian patient, AC inhibitor reduced 57%, but here ARB treatment increases the pneumonia in 4% patients, non-Asian patient reduction 33%. There are also other, so many studies where we see that there is actually no deleterious role of ACE inhibitor ARB. Better, there is good roles of ACE inhibitor in COVID-19 patients. So, what are the statements of our societies? আমরা যাদের কথাটা বাইবেলের মতো মানি, তো আমাদের সোসাইটিগুলো কি বলে আমরা শুনি একটু। This is the ESC Council of Hypertension. There is evidence from studies in animal trial that ACE inhibitor ARB might be rather protective against the severe lung complications in patients with COVID-19 infection. That means ACE inhibitor evidence যে তারা COVID-19 infection lung complicationটা কমাবে। The Council on Hypertension strongly recommend that physicians and patients should continue treatment with their usual antihypertensive therapy because there is no clinical or scientific evidence to suggest that treatment with ACE inhibitor ARB should be discontinued because of the COVID-19 infection. That means মুদ্রা কথা হচ্ছে আমাদের যেসব পেশেন্ট ACE inhibitor ARB পাচ্ছিল আমরা তাদের ACE inhibitor ARB continue করব. We should not discontinue the patient the drugs, but it should be individualized. And the American College of Cardiology, they showed that in experimental studies both ACE inhibitors and ARB been shown to reduce severe lung injury in certain viral pneumonias, and it has been speculated that these agents could be beneficial in COVID-19. They told that it had been speculated that these agents could be beneficial in COVID-19. And the ISFSA, ICC, and AHAG recommends continuation of RAS antagonist for those patients who are currently prescribed such agents for indication for which these agents are known to be beneficial, such as heart failure, hypertension, ischemic heart disease. That means we are the patient who heart failure patient, hypertensive patient, ischemic heart disease patient who are getting these drugs will continue the drugs. And what are saying our society, Bangladesh Cardiac Society? There's a headline, management of cardiovascular disease during COVID-19 pandemic. They told that stable cardiovascular diseases, that is hypertension, heart disease, heart failure, arrhythmia, and congenital heart disease should be managed conservatively as per current guidelines as before. This is equally applicable to the choice of antihypertensive drugs, including ACE inhibitor ARBs. ACE inhibitor ARB should not be discontinued until further evidence is available. And this is our society, Bangladesh Cardiac Society. That means we should continue the drugs according to the patient. So what is the take-home message? That is that most of the data and major guidelines suggest that patient must continue the ACE inhibitor or ARBs even if they are COVID-19 positive. As ACE inhibitors are superior than ARB to reduce the risk of pneumonia, they might be better choice for current and future patients with hypertension, diabetes, heart failure, stroke, etc. I'm at the last part of my actually presentation. This is the last part of our Holy Ramadan, but our COVID-19 is increasing day by day. We are praying, we all praying actually for the release of these COVID-19 infections from our society, from our life, from our patients. So all pray for us. This is actually sponsored program of Servier. So thank you, frontliners. They also give you thanks, frontliners, our COVID warriors. So please stay safe. We don't stay home, but we should stay safe for ourselves, for our society, for our patients. There is also Coversil of Servier. It is a good option, and there is also a combination of Coversil or amlodipine, that is Coviram, 4/5, 4/10. These are very good drugs. Coversil is a new diagnosed in hypertensive and coronary artery patients, and Coviram for stage 2 and uncontrolled hypertensive patients. You are clinicians, you know, who are practicing these drugs. These are good drugs. Our best wishes for these drugs. And thank you, surveyors. Thank you, my colleagues. Thank you, my doctors. Thank you, all audience, for this patient sharing. Thank you so much.